So you've had a quick run through of this course and how it's laid out and the different assignments within each of our lessons. So let's take a deeper look at the actual curriculum and what your students will be learning. The first section of this class is the Welcome to Digital Art section, where students will learn things like the basics of this course, digital citizenship, copyright laws, and take a quick look at what they can expect from this course. Then they will move on to their first unit. This first unit is digital drawing. Students will be able to buy additional tools that can help with digital drawing, and they can also debate things like sustainability practices for traditional versus digital arts in a discussion post. And then we'll follow that discussion post up with an in-class discussion with their peers. After this, students will move on to their first lesson of the unit, and this is a lesson covering Pablo Picasso and Henri Matisse. If you decide to have your students take these pre-assessment quizzes over each of these lessons, then this will be at the very top of each of these lessons. Now, this one right here goes over things like Pablo Picasso and Henri Matisse. It's up to you to decide if you want your students to do this or not. Your school might require that you provide formative and summative assessments of students' knowledge, and if that is the case, then these are the best way to collect that information and be able to analyze and see if students have learned through the process of this course. If not, you may be able to skip these assignments forward into the lesson where students will learn about the lives and the artwork of both Pablo Picasso and Henri Matisse. With students' new understanding of art terms that are introduced to them in these videos, they will be able to create a self-portrait in a similar style to Picasso and Matisse, while also making sure to meet the project requirements asked of them from their project breakdown video. Next, they'll move on to the second lesson of their digital drawing unit. This is a lesson over American pop art, and we'll take a deep look into Roy Lichtenstein's art. During these videos, it's not only the time that they learn things like these art terms that are sprinkled throughout and given definitions and examples, so students can expand their art vocabularies. This project is connected to the lesson, but it is also the only group project of this course. So students will work with a partner to create several pieces that will combine into one large piece of art. Each student will create 3 small artworks under the requirements asked of them in the project breakdown video, and the 2 partners will come together to create this one large 6-piece artwork in the pop art style. Then the last official lesson of the digital drawing unit. This lesson is a simple free draw lesson where students will take all the information that they've learned during their 2 lessons prior and apply them to their own artwork and their own creation. The only task of students during this project is that they keep their art school appropriate and that they attempt to create an interesting composition with their drawings. Following the simple project is a very short optional project for students who rush through their free draw lessons. If they need something to keep them busy, this is the perfect thing for them. This is a link to a pixel art website where students can practice creating pixel art. Write a short discussion post with attached images of their artwork, as well as how they feel about pixel art, if they felt that it was easier or harder than the other artworks that they practiced earlier in this class. Once all students have completed their free draw assignments, they'll present them in a critique, and you'll be able to move forward into the next unit, which is digital animation. Digital animation unit, students will start with an introduction to the history of animation and how it's adapted into digital animation style that we use now widely in animation today. Next, they will be able to start their first lesson of digital animation titled Digital Modeling. This lesson will cover terms that will help students to better understand the process of digitally modeling and be able to use their own digital modeling themselves. Students will model either a small creature or a bust of a head using a website called SculptGL. If the school has access to a 3D printer, you can even use these models and print them on the 3D printer. If not, that's okay. Students can take screenshots of these models from every angle so that the class can see them in their class critique. Then the last lesson of this course is the animation timelines. In this lesson, students will review information from previous lessons as well as learn about how animation timelines work and how to use websites like Animaker for their project. Students will make an animation sequence on this website where they have to create a different ending to a movie, that they've seen already. And you'll have to practice coordinating things like visuals, audio, and order of events for animation. Once you've finished with all of this with your students, it'll be time to say goodbye. Hopefully, it all sounds good to you. It's going to be a busy and full course, so be prepared for when you're starting to plan a breakdown of your schedule and what your days will look like during your camp, that you might need to do things like cut certain activities or certain assignments. That's totally okay. We are completely flexible, and it's dependent on you on how you want to conduct this course. Well, we've covered all the big things on what your students will be learning and how these activities will be conducted. So move on to pacing the class for a short video on coordinating the curriculum with your class schedule. I'll see you soon. Bye.